Left 4 Dead is a 4-player co-op game that defined how games like it would play forever, really. You and 3 friends fight against hordes of zombies, with it being a game made by Valve and Turtle Rock Studios, with its sequel coming out a year later, solely made by Valve. Since then, a subgenre of games came out like GTFO, Deep Rock Galactic, and Payday, and the one we don't talk about, with all of them taking these references and cues from Left 4 Dead. And although Left 4 Dead's story isn't its main focus, with it being gradually fed through us through things like posters, graffitis, markings, context clues, other forms of media or dialogue, it's still something we can kind of piece together. But one of the things we do learn about in Left 4 Dead is the infection. Not exactly how the whole apocalypse started, but we know generally why the apocalypse is where it's at now. And we even know what this disease does to a person, and some other fun facts about it, with it having the ability to be an extinction event for humanity. The infection in Left 4 Dead is designated as the green flu, turning people it infects into rage-stricken zombies, or at least zombie-like things. The characters in the game call them zombies, so let's just call them zombies. The main infection vector seems to be bites, with it being the most commonly talked about reason why people turn, with it being talked about in multiple campaigns, with it also being mentioned as an airborne virus in the comics. There are also some possibilities that it can spread through things like saliva, biles, blood, and other fumes that can come from bodies of the infected. Heck, you might even get it if you look at an infected wrong. The green flu is a virus of indeterminate origin. Maybe it's from science fiction, from an alien mothership, or as a bioweapon. Or maybe it's by supernatural means, with it coming from a mage or something. Or maybe it's just a virus that slowly grew and mutated until it turned into a humanity-destroying pathogen. I mean, who knows? The most sound theory is that it might have also had something to do with livestock, with it being brought up by one of the survivors during a campaign in Left 4 Dead 2, and kinda seen throughout Left 4 Dead 1 a little bit too. With it being a possible reason why it only took 2 weeks to completely overrun the east side of the US, I'm pretty sure that the green flu hit America harder than Beatles mania. Some people are also immune to all vectors of infection for whatever reason, I don't know. Stop asking questions, I don't know. You clicked on a video explaining the green flu, but come on, man. Left 4 Dead leaves a lot of things vague, much like the horror movies that inspired it, and if you truly knew everything, the horror would be gone. All that's known is that some people are immune, immunity is passed down by the father's gene, with it most likely being a recessive gene from the father, making it an in-lore reason why there are more male characters in the game compared to female, which is pretty cool, because it just passes down to males and it has a chance of passing down to females. The infected can detect immunity in survivors though, with them being beaten to death by their bare hands and arms instead of going for bites or other means of infection. This isn't really seen in game because everybody that you play as is immune and you don't really meet anybody else that isn't immune in game, but everyone else describes them as a lot more bitey, while they only smack and yell and scream at us, being a bit more murder filled. The green flu is known for being a slippery little bastard when it comes to being held down and what it exactly does. For the most part, besides the whole zombifying the whole population thing, the green flu is constantly mutating. It's said to take many different forms of transmission. This information came from The Sacrifice, where the scientist talks about it, with that scientist saying how out of their depth people who aren't immune are. The doctor also explains that people are immune aren't exactly immune, they're carriers. They perpetuate the virus, and it might be one of the reasons all the survivors' adventures to find safety never truly bear any fruits. Until in Left 4 Dead 1 where they save themselves with the raw power of a sailboat and one of their own dying. I sure hope the Left 4 Dead 2 cast are okay, because the last time we saw them, they were picked up by the military, which didn't go well for the Left 4 Dead 1 crew at all. Either way, we don't know, and we probably will never know whatever happened to them. I hate you, Valve. I hate how you make some of the games I return to the most, and you abandon. Plus, I hate how your dumb stupid digital distribution service sucks at downloading things. The green flu was originally classified as an influenza mutation, or a strain designated as a flu to make it so mass hysteria wouldn't be so bad. You know, wash your hands and wear face masks and you should be fine. Nah, this is a zombie virus. These are zombies. But somehow I imagine calling it Ultra Death Life Destroyer wouldn't be a good idea. So CEDA, which is like basically the CDC of this universe, called it the green flu instead. CEDA did such a horrible job keeping the infections under wraps and trying to keep everybody away from it that the hazmats they sent out got bit. CEDA failed at containing the virus because the green flu was pretty much unstoppable at that point. So the military had to step in. which didn't go particularly well because the military wasn't prepared or properly educated about the infected, with them being pretty easily overrun in the 2 weeks after the first infection. When someone does get infected, they turn pretty fast, with it seeming like lots of people turn almost instantly. Their skin becomes dark and dead, and if they don't mutate any further, they're considered common infected. These guys are the guys that swarm, that are the little wacky little screamers. These guys really make your flesh crawl because they make sounds that no human should be able to. They are attracted to and by loud sounds and lights. Surprisingly, they show up less to the sound of constant gunshots than things like a rock concert or a bridge being lowered and brought back up again. Surprisingly, they only take up 63% of the total population of the infected, because after 2 weeks in the infection, some of the infected started to mutate. This made the green flu even more terrifying, with it mutating the victim into a killing machine that can usually deal with isolated survivors, making surviving alone impossible, and sometimes making surviving in fours still pretty frickin' hard. The boomer is bloated and fat. Its main thing is trying to vomit on you and trying to get its bile on you. The bile doesn't cause any damage, but it does do things like partially blind you, but it does make you a target for normal infected to swarm you, which can be panic-inducing if you ever have to deal with it. The boomer mutates from the infection, with him getting a big, bloated belly, and some other horrible-looking cysts. The boomer is actually kind of fragile, though, mainly because it's a giant balloon filled with vomit that can pop if you shoot at it. In Left 4 Dead 2, it's still the same amount of bloated, but now it's kind of got some of it soaked into its skin, kind of looking a little bit more dirty and yuck. Also female. Wow, female boomer. Wow, great. Good job. It's scarier somehow. The hunter is the most outwardly athletic of all the special infected, being able to do crazy things like jump buildings in a single bound, with also having claws and super strength, which is just great to deal with. They're mainly known for pouncing on people, though, with them just kind of looking like a normal person in a hoodie until they start pouncing on you and scratching you. A hunter can pounce on and maul a victim to death pretty fast. In Left 4 Dead 2, you get to see some more of their body with the tape they put onto their arms, looking like a parkour dude that got turned into a zombie. Then you have the smoker that uses his tongue, which are probably actually just long intestines, to strangle any victim he sees. They're big, lanky, and cough a lot. When you shoot them and finally get them down, they puff into a cloud of smoke. They also have some tumors around their face that they should really get checked, but they killed all the doctors. The smoker in Left 4 Dead 2 is a little bit more worse for wear, with more cancer and more tongues coming out of them. Seriously, my skin crawls whenever I see this Left 4 Dead 2 model. It is so weird and disgusting with how it wiggles around. And it's probably what happens to you if you smoke and get infected, so don't do that, kids. Tanks are what happened to the lugheads. I mean, seriously, look at them. They're fashioned like shaved gorillas. They walk around on their hands as their feet dangle, and they don't really have jaws anymore. It kind of merged into their chest, and they punch things to death and throw rubble at stuff. They're terrifying, and even more sores are on them in Left 4 Dead 2, being these rage-filled monsters. Probably being what happens to somebody if they use too many steroids and the green flu gets them. And finally, for the first 2 weeks of the infection, we have the witch, which is a skinny woman that cries in a corner that tears you apart if you disturb her in any sort of way by getting too close to her or shining a light in her face. And just make sure to see us go walk away from her. You don't want to make her angry, because she will insta-kill you on some difficulties. This is probably what happens to people that are emaciated or somewhat mentally unwell. 3 weeks after the infection, there was some more stuff that happened and some more changes that happened within the special infected, with 3 new special infected being added. The Charger is a big guy that pushes you into a wall and just grabs you and keeps on hitting you, and we don't exactly know what caused him to look like this. Half of his body is small, half of his body is big. One of his arms is bigger than the other. I know what that means. That's a 2010 joke. Calm down. Don't say jokes like that no more. Think of something new. Maybe they're suffering with elephantitis. I don't know. The jockey is a little dude that jumps on your back and bashes you into things like cars and grabs you. He laughs maniacally and is always hunched over and is really small. Jockey is probably what happens to people that have some sort of spinal or movement issue, as well as maybe some mental issues, with the jockey laughing maniacally the entire time. And finally, the spitter, the most horrifying thing of all. I don't even know what causes this. Maybe a buildup of lactic acid or acids in the body. Either way, they're saggy and look like a deadite. They spit acid on the ground to try to get survivors, either causing area denial or just doing a lot of damage, with them being kind of supportive in the way a boomer is, but they're more terrifying and a lot more saggy. And that's what we know about the green flu. What do you guys think about the green flu and Left 4 Dead in general? Make sure to tell me in the comments down below. I really like Left 4 Dead. I've been playing it ever since it came out, and I still kind of suck at it. Till next video, fellas.